The city of Lagos never slept. From the blaring horns of Danfo buses to the endless voices of street hawkers shouting, "Pure water! Gala! Cold drink!" life moved at a speed that left no one behind. At the center of this busy city was 32-year-old Ethan Coe, the billionaire CEO of Coe Group Holdings, one of the biggest construction companies in Nigeria. His handsome face often appeared on business magazines, but very few people knew what he truly looked like because he rarely attended public events. He hated attention. After 3 failed relationships with women who loved his money more than his heart, Ethan made a bold decision. "I want someone who will love me for me, not because of my bank account," he told his elderly driver, Musa. Musa laughed softly. "Oga, if you carry your billions on your forehead, nobody go see your real heart. Sometimes, make person waka like ordinary man." Those words stayed with Ethan. The following Monday, he parked his luxury Range Rover inside one of his private warehouses, changed into faded jeans, a simple polo shirt, worn-out sneakers, and boarded a yellow Danfo bus for the first time in years. The conductor shouted loudly, "Oshodi! CMS! One chance no day here, oh. Enter with your change." Ethan smiled awkwardly and squeezed himself into the crowded bus. It was uncomfortable. Very uncomfortable. An old woman kept complaining about the heat while 2 traders argued over who stepped on whose slippers. Yet, strangely, Ethan felt free. Nobody recognized him. Nobody called him a chairman. Nobody bowed before him. For the first time in years, he was just another Lagos resident trying to survive the morning traffic. After getting down near Yoba, Ethan walked toward a roadside food stall. The aroma of hot jollof rice and fried plantain filled the air. That was where he saw her. She wore a simple blue gown with a black apron tied around her waist. Her natural hair was neatly wrapped in a scarf, and despite the stress of serving impatient customers, she never stopped smiling. "Good morning, sir," she greeted warmly. "What would you like to eat?" Her name tag read, Amora. Ethan ordered rice and chicken. As she served him, an elderly blind man accidentally knocked over a cooler filled with bottled drinks. Within seconds, several people began shouting, "See wetin you do? Who go pay for this?" The old man trembled. "I'm sorry. I didn't know." Without hesitation, Amora knelt beside him. "It's okay, Papa," she said gently. "Nobody will insult you here." She picked up every bottle herself while calming the angry customers. Then, from her own small purse, she quietly paid for the damaged drinks. Ethan watched in disbelief. He had met women who demanded designer handbags worth millions without blinking. But this young woman was using her hard-earned salary to protect a stranger. When she returned to his table, Ethan asked curiously, "Why did you pay for him? It wasn't your fault." Amara smiled. "My late mother always said that kindness is never a waste. Today it's him. Tomorrow it could be me." Those simple words touched Ethan more deeply than she could ever imagine. Unknown to Amara, the quiet customer eating rice before her own companies worth billions of naira. Unknown to Ethan, the woman standing before him was hiding a secret so dangerous that it had forced her to change her name, leave her hometown, and disappear into Lagos without telling anyone where she had gone. As the evening sun disappeared behind the city's skyline, a black SUV stopped across the road. Inside sat 2 men wearing dark sunglasses. One of them pointed directly at Amora. "We finally found her." The other slowly picked up his phone. "Call the boss. Tell him, the girl is still alive." Amora had no idea that her peaceful life was about to come crashing down. The next morning, Lagos woke up the same way it always did, with the blaring horns of impatient motorists, the distant call to prayer from a nearby mosque, church bells echoing through some neighborhoods, and traders arranging their goods before the sun grew too harsh. At exactly 7 o'clock, Amora was already at Momo Boza's food canteen in Yoba. She tied her apron firmly around her waist, swept the front of the shop, arranged the plastic chairs, and lit the charcoal stove for the day's cooking. Mama Bose, a stout woman in her late 50s with a cheerful but commanding voice, stepped outside carrying a large basin of washed rice. "Amora," she called. "Yes, Mama. You came earlier than everybody again." Amora smiled. "If I no come early, who go help you wash all these vegetables?" Mama Bose laughed heartily. "God will bless you, my daughter. Girls like you are hard to find these days." Amora only smiled. If Mama Bose knew the real reason she always arrived before everyone else, she would understand. She never liked staying too long in one place. Every morning before coming to work, she took different routes. Sometimes she entered a danfo. Sometimes she boarded a tricycle. Sometimes she walked for nearly 30 minutes before joining another vehicle. It wasn't because she enjoyed the stress. She simply wanted to be sure nobody was following her. For nearly 3 years, fear had become part of her daily routine. Yet she never told anyone. Not even Mama Bose. Far away, inside the luxurious penthouse overlooking Victoria Island, Ethan Cole stood in front of the floor-to-ceiling windows, coffee in hand. His personal assistant, Daniel, entered with a tablet. "Good morning, sir." "Morning. You have a board meeting by 10. Investors from Abuja arrive by noon, and the minister's office has confirmed your appointment for tomorrow." Ethan barely listened. His thoughts kept returning to the young woman at the canteen. Her smile. Her kindness. The way she defended the blind old man without expecting anything in return. Daniel noticed the unusual silence. "Sir." "You've been distracted since yesterday." Ethan turned. "Daniel, have you ever met someone for just a few minutes, yet felt like you've known them for years?" Daniel blinked. Then a slow grin spread across his face. "Oga, you've fallen in love." Ethan laughed. "Don't be ridiculous. I'm serious. I only met her yesterday." Daniel folded his arms. "The way you're smiling says otherwise." Ethan shook his head, trying to dismiss the thought. "It isn't love. I just want to know whether people like her still exist." Daniel smiled knowingly but said nothing more. By lunchtime, Ethan had finished his morning meetings. Instead of returning to the office restaurant where executive chefs prepared expensive meals, he quietly changed into his simple clothes once again. Within an hour, he was back at Mama Bose's canteen. Amora looked up from serving another customer. A look of surprise crossed her face. "Oh, you're back." Ethan smiled. "I hope that's not a problem." She laughed softly. "Problem? Customers are blessings. Please sit down." As she served him, Ethan noticed something different. She looked tired. There were faint shadows beneath her eyes. "You didn't sleep well?" he asked. Amora hesitated. For someone working 2 jobs, sleep is a luxury. 2 jobs? She nodded. "I work here during the day. At night, I help an elderly woman sell roasted corn near the bus stop." Ethan nearly dropped his spoon. "You work from morning till night?" She smiled as though it were normal. "Life no easy for Lagos. Rent doesn't pay itself." "What about your family?" For a brief moment, her smile faded. "I don't really have anyone." Then she quickly changed the subject. "What do you do?" Ethan had expected the question. "I'm a site supervisor." "Oh. Construction." "Yes. So that's why your hands have small scars." Ethan looked at his hands. Years ago, before becoming CEO, he had actually worked on construction sites with engineers. The old scars were real. For once, he didn't have to lie completely. Business at the canteen suddenly became busy. Customers poured in one after another. Without thinking, Ethan stood up. Can I help? Amora stared at him. You. Yes. You'll regret it. 5 minutes later, Ethan discovered she was right. One customer demanded extras too. Another insisted his meat was too small. Someone shouted for bottled water. Another wanted takeaway packs. Young man. Mama Bose yelled. Don't stand there like Nipepo. Carry those plates. The customers burst into laughter. Even Ethan laughed at himself. By the end of the afternoon, sweat covered his face. His expensive wristwatch, hidden beneath his sleeve, felt unusually heavy. Amora handed him a bottle of soft drink. You tried. I've never worked this hard before, Ethan admitted. She laughed. I thought you said construction was stressful. It is. But this. He gestured toward the busy canteen. Is another level. For the first time in a long while, Ethan forgot about board meetings, billionaire contracts, and corporate politics. He enjoyed the simple joy of helping people and sharing jokes with ordinary customers. Across the street, however, 2 men sat inside a black SUV with tinted windows. One lowered his binoculars. She's getting close to that young man. The second man frowned. Should we report it? Of course. He picked up his phone. The boss needs to know everything. Miles away, inside a heavily guarded mansion on the outskirts of Lagos, a middle-aged man dressed in an immaculate white senator outfit listened quietly as the report came through. His expression darkened. So, Amora has made a new friend. He walked slowly to a large framed family photograph hanging on the wall. One face in the picture had been scratched repeatedly with a sharp object. It was the face of a much younger Amora. The man clenched his jaw. I warned her never to return. Yet she is still alive. He ended the call and turned to the head of his security team. Increase surveillance. But listen carefully. No unnecessary violence. Not yet. I want her washed. And I want to know exactly who that young man is. Back in Yoba, Amora locked up the canteen with Mama Bose as evening settled over the city. She waved goodbye and began her usual walk toward the roadside where she worked her second job. She didn't notice the black SUV rolling slowly behind her at a safe distance. Inside the vehicle, one of the men smiled coldly. Run all you want, he muttered. This time, there will be nowhere left to hide. Amora adjusted the tray of roasted corn on her head as she crossed the busy road toward the junction where Mama Titi usually sold roasted corn and pears every evening. The sky had turned orange, and the cool breeze from the nearby lagoon made the humid Lagos weather slightly bearable. Babe, you don't come. Mama Titi called out with a wide smile. I don't dey wait for you, oh. Amora laughed. Sorry, Mama. Customers full everywhere today. Mama Titi shook her head. Not because your smile they attract customers. If not me alone, them go just pass. The 2 women burst into laughter. Within minutes, they had arranged the charcoal grill. The aroma of roasting corn soon filled the air, attracting passers-by. Hot corn. Sweet corn. Buy your fresh corn. Mama Titi shouted. Business picked up quickly. Office workers returning home stopped to buy dinner. University students bargained over prices. Commercial bus drivers parked briefly to grab roasted corn before continuing their routes. Amora loved this part of her day. Nobody here asked questions about her past. Nobody cared where she came from. To everyone around the junction, she was simply the hardworking young lady who always smiled, no matter how difficult life became. But deep inside, she carried a burden that never left her. Every time a black SUV drove past. Every time an unfamiliar face looked at her for too long. Her heart skipped a beat. She had lived with fear for so long that it had become second nature. Just then, a familiar voice interrupted her thoughts. So, this is your second job. Amara turned in surprise. Ethan. He stood there wearing the same simple jeans and polo shirt, holding a small nylon bag from a nearby supermarket. She couldn't hide her shock. What are you doing here? Ethan scratched the back of his head sheepishly. I was passing by. Mama Titi looked from Ethan to Amara before smiling knowingly. Oh. Amara, tell me say your boyfriend fine like this. Amara almost dropped the roasting stick. Mama. No. Oh. Ethan said quickly, laughing. We are just friends. Mama Titi clicked her tongue dramatically. No, so it dey start. First no friendship. Tomorrow, wedding invitation. Everyone around them laughed. Even Amara couldn't help smiling. Ethan bought 2 roasted cobs of corn. After paying, he remained standing. You can go home, Amara told him. You've already bought what you came for. I know. But I don't mind keeping you company. She raised an eyebrow. For someone who works all day at a construction site, you seem to have plenty of free time. Ethan almost laughed. If only she knew. At that very moment, Daniel had called him 7 times. The board members were asking where their CEO had disappeared to. Several contracts worth billions of naira were waiting for his approval. Yet somehow, standing beside Amara at a roadside corn stand felt more important. Across the road, inside the packed black SUV, one of the men lowered his camera after taking several photographs. Zoom in. The second man enlarged one of the pictures. The image showed Ethan smiling while helping Amara arrange roasted corn on the grill. This man seems comfortable around her. Find out everything. Yes. Nobody gets this close to our target by accident. Back at the corn stand, business slowed as darkness settled over Lagos. Street lights flickered on one after another. The traffic became heavier. Car horns echoed endlessly. Amara sighed with relief. Finally. My legs are killing me. Ethan looked at her. You work almost 16 hours every day. How do you survive? She smiled faintly. When life gives you no choice, your body learns to adjust. He became quiet. Growing up, he had never lacked anything. Even during his internship years, his family ensured he remained comfortable. Watching Amara struggle without complaining stirred something inside him. After they finished packing up, Ethan insisted on helping carry one of the baskets. Oga, Mama Titi joked, you sure say you're not looking for wife? Ethan laughed. I'm only helping. We old women know these things. Amara rolled her eyes. Please ignore her. They began walking toward the bus stop together. For a few minutes, neither of them spoke. Then Ethan finally broke the silence. Can I ask you something? If I can answer. Why do you work so hard? She stopped walking. For several seconds, she stared at the busy expressway ahead. Then she answered quietly. I'm saving money. For what? A new beginning. What kind of beginning? Her eyes became distant. The kind where nobody knows my past. Ethan noticed the sadness behind her smile but chose not to press further. Everyone had wounds. Some were simply harder to talk about. Suddenly, the screeching sound of tires shattered the peaceful moment. A motorcycle sped toward the sidewalk. Another followed behind it. Before anyone could react, one of the riders stretched out his hand and snatched an elderly woman's handbag. My bag. My money. The old woman screamed. The thieves accelerated through traffic. Without thinking, Ethan ran. Hey! Stop! His athletic instincts kicked in. One of the motorcycles slowed slightly after hitting a pothole. Ethan caught up just enough to grab the passenger's shirt. The rider lost balance. Both men crashed onto the roadside. People immediately surrounded them. Thief! Catch 'em. Beat 'em. The crowd surged forward angrily. The thief curled into a ball, trying to shield himself. Amora rushed toward the crowd. Stop. Please. If una kill 'em, police go still ask questions. Her voice somehow cut through the chaos. Several people paused. Ethan, breathing heavily, picked up the stolen handbag and returned it to the crying old woman. My son. The woman sobbed. God will bless you. She held his hands tightly. You saved everything I have. Ethan smiled gently. I'm glad you're okay. Within minutes, 2 police officers arrived and took the suspect away before the mob could attack him again. As the crowd dispersed, Amora looked at Ethan with amazement. You actually chased armed thieves? He shrugged. I wasn't thinking. She folded her arms. Exactly. That's the problem. What if they had guns? What if they stabbed you? Ethan smiled. I couldn't just stand there. For a moment, Amora simply stared at him. She had met many people in Lagos. Most looked away when trouble appeared. This man had run toward danger without expecting anything in return. Perhaps, just perhaps, there were still genuinely good people left in the world. Neither of them noticed the black SUV parked 50 meters away. Inside, the man in the passenger seat slowly lowered his binoculars. So, he isn't ordinary. The driver nodded. Nobody risks his life for a stranger like that. The passenger dialed a secure number. The new man interfered with a robbery. He fought without fear. There was silence on the other end before a deep voice responded. Keep watching him. If necessary. Bring me the man alive. The call ended. The passenger looked through the windshield once more as Ethan and Amora disappeared into the crowd. He smiled coldly. Boss is becoming interested. And whenever boss becomes interested, somebody's life is about to change forever. Unaware that powerful eyes were now fixed on both of them, Ethan and Amora reached the bus stop. A downfall conductor leaned out of the door, shouting at the top of his lungs. Oshodi. CMS. Surelia. Last bus. Enter with your change. Amora smiled. This is my bus. She climbed onto the crowded vehicle before turning back. Thank you, for today. Ethan nodded. Good night, Amora. As the bus pulled away into the sea of Lagos traffic, Ethan stood watching until its taillights disappeared. For reasons he could not explain, he felt that meeting Amora was no accident. Somewhere deep inside, he sensed that fate had placed her in his path. What he didn't know was that fate was also leading him straight into a dangerous secret, one powerful enough to shake his world, expose his hidden identity, and force him into a battle he never saw coming. For the next 3 days, Ethan found himself creating excuses to visit Yoba. To Daniel, he claimed he was inspecting a new construction site. To the board members, he said he was meeting potential contractors. Only Musa, his elderly driver, knew the truth. As Ethan climbed into the old Toyota Corolla he now used for his disguise, Musa smiled mischievously through the rearview mirror. Oga, you don't dey glow these days. Ethan frowned. Glow? Yes now. Before, no office. Since you meet that girl, your face done soft. Ethan chuckled. Musa, you talk too much. The old man laughed. Person wey don marry 40 years fit recognize love from far. Ethan shook his head, but deep down he couldn't deny it anymore. Every conversation with Amora felt effortless. She never asked how much he earned. She never cared about expensive clothes or flashy cars. She simply treated him with kindness. That alone made her different from everyone he had ever dated. At Mama Boza's canteen, lunchtime was as busy as ever. Customers filled every chair. Some ate quickly before returning to work. Others argued over football. "No, Super Eagles go still rise again," one man insisted. Another scoffed. "You daydream." The canteen erupted in laughter. Amara moved swiftly from table to table, balancing plates of jollof rice, beans, amla, and steaming bowls of egusi soup. When Ethan entered, her face brightened almost immediately. "You came again. I hope you're not tired of seeing me." She smiled. "If every customer behaves like you, Mama Boss go promote me." "Meaning? You don't complain. You don't price food. And you even wash your own plate." Ethan laughed. "So that's enough qualification?" "In Lagos. Very big qualification." They both laughed. Mama Boss watched them from the kitchen with folded arms. She nudged one of the cooks. "See those two?" The cook smiled knowingly. "Mama, wedding rice done they cook for your head already." Mama Boss grinned. "If those two no marry, I go stop selling food." After lunch, business became quiet. A light rain began to fall. Customers hurried away while others waited under nearby shop roofs. Ethan and Amora sat outside beneath the zinc extension, listening to the rain hit the ground. For a while, neither of them spoke. Sometimes silence was enough. Finally, Ethan broke it. "What's your favorite place in Lagos?" Amora looked at the grey sky. "I don't really have one." "You've never gone anywhere for fun?" She laughed softly. "Fun costs money. When you're trying to survive, enjoyment becomes luxury." Ethan stared at her. He had spent millions on vacations he barely remembered. Yet this young woman had never experienced something as simple as a day out. Without thinking, he spoke. "What if we change that?" She looked at him curiously. "How?" "This Sunday. No work. I know a place where the breeze is nice. We'll buy suya, roasted fish, soft drinks. And just talk." Amara hesitated. "I don't know. I've never really gone out with a man before." "It's not a date." He smiled. "Just two friends." She studied his face carefully. There was no pressure. No hidden intentions. Only sincerity. Finally, she nodded. "Okay. But only as friends." Ethan smiled. "Deal." Neither of them noticed the man sitting inside a nearby barber's shop. He wasn't waiting for a haircut. Hidden beneath his newspaper was a tiny camera. Click. Another picture. Click. Another one. As soon as Ethan left, the man quietly stood up and disappeared into the crowd. Several hours later, on the outskirts of Lagos stood a magnificent mansion surrounded by high fences, armed guards, and expensive luxury vehicles. Inside the study, a silver-haired man sat behind a massive mahogany desk. Chief Gabriel Okafor. Business mogul. Political kingmaker. A man feared in many parts of Nigeria. The surveillance photographs were spread across his desk. One showed Amora smiling. Another captured Ethan helping her carry food trays. Another showed them sitting together while it rained. Chief Gabriel's expression darkened. "So?" She's smiling again. He reached for a crystal glass filled with expensive whiskey. His fingers tightened around it. "I warned her. I gave her one instruction. Disappear forever. And now, she's becoming comfortable." Standing nearby was his trusted security chief, Samson. "What are your orders, sir?" Chief Gabriel remained silent for a long moment. Then he spoke. "Who is the young man?" "We are still investigating." "I don't want investigations. I want answers. By tomorrow." "Yes, sir." And Samson. "Sir. If that young man becomes a problem." Samson understood immediately. "I'll handle it." Chief Gabriel nodded without another word. Meanwhile, Ethan returned to his penthouse. Daniel was waiting with a mountain of files. "There you are. The directors nearly declared you missing." Ethan laughed. "Relax. I've been working." Daniel raised an eyebrow. "Working? You mean eating free rice in Yoba?" Ethan froze. "How did you know?" Daniel pulled out his phone. "Musa told me." Ethan groaned. "I'll sack that old man one day." "You've been saying that for 10 years. They both laughed. Daniel's smile slowly faded. "Jokes apart. I've done something." Ethan looked up. "What?" "I investigated your new friend." Ethan's expression changed immediately. "You what?" "I only wanted to protect you." "What did you find?" Daniel opened a file. "That's the strange part." He placed several documents on the table. No birth records. No university records. No employment history before 3 years ago. It's as if she suddenly appeared from nowhere. Ethan frowned. "That's impossible." "I know. Everyone leaves a trail. But this woman has none." A heavy silence filled the room. For the first time since meeting Amora, doubt entered Ethan's mind. Who exactly was she? Elsewhere, inside her tiny one-room apartment, Amora finished saying her evening prayers. She opened an old metal box hidden beneath her bed. Inside were only a few belongings. Some folded clothes. A small amount of cash. A silver necklace. And an old family photograph. She picked up the picture with trembling hands. In it stood a younger version of herself between her smiling parents. Tears gathered in her eyes. "I miss both of you," she whispered. "I wish things had been different." Suddenly, someone knocked. Knock. 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 Amara froze. Nobody visited her. Slowly, she approached the wooden door. "Who is it?" Silence. Her heartbeat quickened. She looked through the tiny gap in the curtain. No one. Carefully, she unlocked the door and stepped outside. The narrow corridor was empty. Just as she was about to go back inside, something on the floor caught her attention. A plain brown envelope. No stamp. No address. Only one word written boldly across it. Amora. Her hands shook as she opened it. Inside was a single photograph. It showed her standing beside Ethan outside Mama Boza's canteen. Scrawled across the back in thick black ink were chilling words. "You were told never to trust anyone. The next person to die because of you will be him." The paper slipped from her trembling fingers. Every terrifying memory she had tried to bury came rushing back. Someone had found her. And now, Ethan was no longer just her friend. He had become a target.